I'm going to show you an example of this in example 3 here. So here we're trying to find a limit at infinity. X is going to negative infinity, and we're taking the square root of x squared plus 2x minus 3 minus x over x squared minus 2. So again, the first step is to look for the largest common power. This x squared here, we're going to think about it as just being an x, because it's basically an x squared inside a square root. The square root of x squared is basically just x. Now in this case, because x is going to negative infinity, it's actually going to be a negative x, but the power is going to be x to the 1. Here this is an x to the 1. In the bottom we have an x squared. So the largest common power, the largest power which is both in the top and in the bottom, is in fact just an x, not an x squared, because the x squared does not occur in the top. So we're going to divide the top and bottom by x. So we're going to get the limit as x goes to negative infinity still in front. And we're going to divide both this thing by x and this thing by x. When we divide the square root of x by x, rather than dividing it by an x in the form of an x, we're going to divide it by an x in the form of the negative of the square root of x squared. Again, remember, this thing here, negative square root of x squared, is just another way of writing x when x is a negative number. We're going to divide this x by x. On the bottom, we're going to divide the x squared by x, and we're going to divide the 2 by x. When we do this, when we have a square root divided by another square root, we can think about it as one single square root. So we're still going to have the limit as x goes to negative infinity, but here we're going to have negative the square root of x squared plus 2x minus 3 all over x squared. Again, we're putting those two square roots together into 1. X divided by x gives you 1. X squared divided by x gives you x. And we have a 2 over x here. The next step is to try to simplify this thing in front of the side the square root. We have an x squared plus 2x minus 3 all divided by x squared. We can divide each thing by x squared separately. So we still have the limit x goes to negative infinity in front. Inside the square root, we'll have x squared divided by x squared, which gives you 1. We'll have 2x divided by x squared, which gives you 2x. And we'll have 3 divided by x squared. We're still going to have a minus 1 here. And at the bottom, we're going to have an x minus 2 over x. Now we can plug in negative infinity for x. We can see what happens as x goes to negative infinity. As x goes to negative infinity, this 2 over x will go to 0. It'll be 2 over negative infinity. 3 over x will also go to 0. This 2 over x will also go to 0. And what we'll be left with is a negative square root of 1 minus 1 over, well, on the bottom we'll have a negative infinity instead of an x. Square root of 1 is 1, negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2 over negative infinity. Anything divided by infinity is 0. So the value of this limit is 0.